Hello and welcome to Art School Live. My name is Mandy Theis. I'm the director of the School of Atelier Arts, and I am substituting for our dear friend Eric Rhodes while he is away at Pastel Live. And today, my very special guest is Daniel Gerhartz. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. What a treat to be with you guys, and looking forward to sharing with you guys today.
We're so happy to have you here. Can you give us just like a sentence or two about what we're going to learn with you today?
Yeah, I've been teaching for about 35 years, and there are some very common struggles that artists deal with. One of them is value control, and then color temperature, understanding color temperature, which is what I'm going to be diving into today. I'll just touch on value control and then how color temperature relates to that. But those are the few things that I'm looking forward to.
All right, this sounds wonderful. Today we're going to learn value control and controlling temperature with Daniel Gerhartz, and we're going to get the show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
You may have noticed that I am not, in fact, Eric Rhodes. My name is Mandy Theis, and I am subbing for Eric while he is away hosting Pastel Live. And today we have a very special guest, Daniel Gerhartz, and he's going to be teaching us all about value control and especially temperature control. Daniel, take it away.
Thank you. As I said earlier, I've been teaching for a lot of years, and some of the two main struggles that I have to deal with daily in my own work, that I really need to make sure I'm staying on top of, are value control, but today I'm going to be mostly talking about color temperature. So how do they relate to each other? Value control is absolutely important. It's so important in building form, in creating a sense of light. And what I push with my students in sharing the journey is always making sure that we keep our values, our lights and our darks, very simply stated. So we do that by squinting way down. So we've got, so that's the goal. Simple, very simple lights and darks. Very minimal value change within those simple flat masses. Now, how do we show form within those flat masses? By using color temperature. And so, as I'm teaching my students, I bring up the fact, let's just take a look at this piece right here. As we're looking at, as I'm working with a figure or a landscape, these principles are true across the board, no matter what the subject matter. So I'm pushing for simple, flat values, very little light and dark change within the light masses. You'll notice that there's lots of color shifts within here. And one of the things that I've discovered in my own teaching is how the masters have solved the mystery of color temperature. And how many of us have heard the saying, warm light, cool shadow?
Oh my God, I hear that all the time. Yes, but do you think that's always true? I would love to hear your opinion on this.
Thank you, Mandy. Actually, it's half true. When there's warm light, there is a cool ridge, and then it goes warm. When there's cool light, it starts cool, and then the color of the local light plane intensifies just before it gets to the shadow, but then it gets cooler yet, and then it goes very warm. So basically what happens, let's just take a look over here again very quickly, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we've got the light plane, and the light, as it begins to spin into the shadow, it gets cooler. You see that violet ridge, and then it gets warm. You'll see it up here as well, where it goes the light plane, and then the pink intensifies right here. A little hard to see on the screen, but there you can see a little better. and then it gets a little cooler. I got this blue, and then it goes down into the deeper warm. I'm going to be doing a demonstration shortly on that, but here's what really happens. There is a cool sandwich, regardless of the light, between the light plane and the shadow plane. And
I love this phrase so much, a cool sandwich, because what you're saying is that it's not as simple as it's warm and cool. It's that you have these transitions going over the ridge.
Exactly. So, I've kind of coined this term, cool sandwich. It sounds a little silly, but honestly, it's really helped my students understand it and grasp it and then apply it, which is exciting. So today, I want to show you what that looks like. Let's turn to some master's works here. I want to show you how that comes into play here. It should be shared already. So, okay. Let's share the screen here. Okay, so here we are. So let me just start here. So regardless of light, so this is cool light coming down on the subject. Let's just look at her shoulder here quickly. And notice here's the light plane. It's this cool, this cooler light on the skin tone, but because it's skin, it appears warmer, but then it goes cool, but then notice the heat right behind it. And you'll see that same transition on every plane change. Look at the sleeve here, where the light plane is here, and then the cool intensifies there, and then the deepest shadow goes warmer. And these shifts in the same, let's look here. It's the top plane. It's so important to determine the temperature of the light to start with. And that will kind of dictate as to how much yellow or orange is in the top plane. But then there is always this cool sandwich. So look at it. See, here's the cool between the top plane and the shadow plane. This is warmer because this violet has got more red in it. You can see it happening on the arm here. Top plane, there's the cool, and then the hot undertone. Here's the cup. The top plane is lighter, and then there's the cool, and then there's the warm undertone. It happens on every material, let's go to, now this is warm light. Sunlight. This happens in sunlight or even just warm studio light. Notice the top plane is warmer, and that warmth is intensified right before it turns into the shadow. So we've got warm, cool, and warm. Now, if I didn't have these warms in the deep shadows, when I say deep shadows, it doesn't have to be this dark. It's just the darkest part of any given shape, like the darkest part of that form. In this case, it's a white blouse. So the value of this dark isn't going to be this dark, but it's the darkest part of this form has to end warm. That is true always. Look at this top of this flower pot here.
Beautiful.
It's cool and warm, but then it intensifies in the warm. Here's the cool sandwich. Then it goes warm again. Let's look at her foot. Here's the top plane. It's warm. And then it goes green or blue. Now that cool can be violet. It can be a greener tone. It can be blue. It honestly can be just the slightest variation of whatever the top plane is. So if the top plane is a warm orange or a warm red, the cool sandwich might be a cool red. It just has to be a slight shift from warm to cool to create that effect of light.
Can you clarify for some of our viewers? So a lot of our viewers, they're new to painting and they're dipping their toe in for the very first time. And a question we get a lot on Art School Live is, how can purple be cold? Or sorry, yeah, how can purple be warm? Sorry, or how can
here's a great example of it. This would be let me see if I can zoom in here. So this is a violet of sorts, but this violet has more blue in it than this one. Basically, whenever a violet has more red in it, it's warmer. Whenever a blue has more yellow in it, it's a warmer blue, or even red, yellow or red in the blue. So basically, whenever you're adding heat, meaning orange, red, or yellow, to a color, you are warming it. So that's what that means. It's a great question, Ahmadine. I'm sorry.
Mandy. It's
Mandy.
okay, Daniel.
Sorry. Let's look at another one. Here's another cool light thing. This one is really obvious. Look at this is a piece I did a few years ago. Look at the top plane. Very cool light. You know, so there's a little play, there's a little bit of dance of warm and cool violets in the top plane. But then just before it turns into the shadow plane, there's the cool sandwich, and then it goes warm. Very important, a couple things to think about. Value control. Whenever I am painting a form, I've got to squint down far enough so I decide where the light ends and the shadow begins. In this case, on his shoulder, it's right here. So right before the shadow turns, we've got a cool, here's the cool sandwich, and here's the warm. You can see it here. Here's this local color of this guy's vest is warmer, but here's the top plane. Look at that. There's the cool sandwich.
It's so lovely seeing these colors.
It's warmer than, it's not always blue, orange. It can be warmer than or cooler than. Let's look at this sergeant here. Here's a great example of it too. Very subtle shifts. Let's see what's going on here. The top plane. The top plane is warmish, right? He's got pinks and yellows. Then it goes a little bit richer in the warms, and then it goes purple, and then it goes orange. So, you know, that here's the cool sandwich. Here's the cool, see the cool right between the two? But what we cannot do is omit the heat. Look at how hot Sargent got in the deepest darks in the face. Just practically pure burnt sienna or alizarin crimson. We can't omit those deep, rich darks. Look at this one. Sometimes I like to almost push the cool sandwich. You can see it in this one on her shoulder. You can see where it goes from the warm plane, and then there's the cool sandwich, and then it's very hot on the shadow side. This is true in landscapes. This is true in outdoor, indoors, outdoor. It's always the same. You know, top plane is warm, and then it gets cool, and then it goes warm again. So, you know, warm, cool, warm. Always looking for that shift. Anytime a plane changes. Now let's quit the share and get back to our other broadcast here. And I'm going to try to do a little demonstration here on this.
I'm very excited to see how you apply this.
Yeah, so let me just show you how this fleshes out. Okay, here we go, folks. Let's see how quickly I can get this and have this make as much sense as possible.
And just a heads up, we have about 35 minutes to watch you work your magic.
Perfect. That should be just fine. So here's this. It's a little hard to tell with this light. I got the same pot here. It's cool light. See, that's very cold. This is just the studio light that I've got in here. Notice the top plane, and then here's the break between light and shadow. Right here is where I am going to be looking for that cool sandwich. And it's in there. I can see it. It's violet. Light away there. And then here's the warm light. The same thing is true. Here's the warm tone, and then the warmth intensifies a little bit right through here, but then it goes cold, and then it goes, the deepest darks in these things go warm again. It's very, very subtle, but if you start to understand what to look for, it demystifies the whole process. And how did I do that? I studied Sargent's, Monet, you know, the people who worked outdoors a lot really helped me to understand it. So I'm going to just start with, let me just start with the warm. Actually, I'm going to start with the cool light.
It's interesting that you talk about the people who work outdoors, because we've had quite a few landscape painters on this week talking about how important it is to look at light in situ and understand light, in real time. And so it's really wonderful to hear you talk about the warm and cool light in the studio in contrast to that.
Yeah, again, Mandy, these principles are true of light in general. That is indoor, outdoor, warm light, cool light. These same principles. So I'm just going to put a tone down. I'm just going to put a tone down for the top plane of this white pot. It's cooler light. It doesn't have to be blue, but it is a little cooler. I'm just going to put a tone down. Just
I'm going to anticipate a question from our audience here. They always want to know what the colors on your palette are.
Okay, this is 𝗪𝗏𝗻𝗄 white. It's a lead white. I sometimes use titanium, sometimes I mix them. So 𝗪𝗻𝗄 white, cad lemon, cad yellow medium, Rembrandt raw sienna, cadmium orange, Rembrandt permanent red medium, Rembrandt permanent madder deep. It's an alizarin crimson substitute, Rembrandt transparent oxide brown, raw umber. This is Utrecht's brilliant blue, which is a combination of ultramarine and phthalo blue, but it's mostly ultramarine with a touch of phthalo. It just gives you a nice balance, and ivory black. So again, I am going to just start by laying in this top plane. I've got kind of a mixture of green and pink and violet. I'm just going to put a tone down. There's the top plane of that vase. Now, as I begin to put this in, I'm noticing that there's a little bit of a warming. So I'm adding some raw sienna to this, a little red. There's a little bit of a warming tone right through here on this. The top of this vase actually is I'm getting the cool sandwich on the top side of this vase right through there. So top plane, I'm going to just lighten up this light plane a little bit here.
I love watching how aggressively you use your brushwork here.
Thank you. Yeah, load it up. So if we look here again, so what am I establishing? I'm getting the top plane, and then as it starts to spin under, it got a little bit warmer, but now I'm going to go into that violet right through there. So just adjusting it slightly. You know what wouldn't be the worst idea too? I always say is to get your lightest lights and darkest darks in. So I'm going to put just with black, transparent oxide brown, I'm just going to carve in a rich, deep dark, just so I know the full range of values here. So I know kind of where that's going. So that's that. And so as this light here spins under, I'm picking up just a little brilliant blue, little permanent matter deep, gives me a beautiful violet. That violet is right here. It takes a while to see this stuff, guys. It's like, I'm not seeing that. But here's what happened. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at what I'm doing, how I'm doing this. And this has been thrilling with our teaching group, is that people really start to see it through these demonstrations. So I just pull, I'm getting the violet in there, and then just beneath the violet, this tone heats up. There's quite a radical shift here.
And for those of you watching today that want to learn more about Daniel's teaching, you can go to DanielGerhartz.com and follow him on Instagram at Gerhartz Studio.
So thank you, Mandy. So here it is. You got the top plane, and then the warmth increases a little bit, and then it gets cool, and then it gets warmer. Now it's going to flop on itself again here. The same principle. Every time there's a plane change, that this cool sandwich will happen on both sides of it. So as this is coming out of the shadow on the bottom, we get the same thing going on. It's doing that, and then and then as this comes out into the light, this is gonna do that.
So
Now,
you mentioned earlier that it takes some practice to see the colors. What do you say to students that are like, sometimes I look at it and it's blue, and then sometimes I look at it and it's purple, and sometimes I look at it when it's yellow? How do you decide which color it is?
wow, that's an absolutely fantastic question. Here's what I try to keep them to, don't think color specific, but think temperature. Think, is that shift warmer or cooler? And then you can go from there and make a decision as to, well, it's maybe a little greener, maybe a little redder. But that's a fabulous question. Keep it simple. You know, sometimes even just going with like the Zorn palette or something early on can just help to understand color temperature. And keeping your palette very simple will help you to not get hung up with the specific colors. Now, the same thing is true on the top here. The underside of the brim on this thing, and I'm not going to get the whole pot in here, but that doesn't matter at all. I just want to show you the principle of how this light works. Again, this is true on a tree. This is true on a vase, a face.
So for those,
gorgeous.
I'm sorry, Daniel. Can you explain for those of us that are new to oil painting what a Zorn palette is?
Sure. A Zorn palette it's basically a very limited palette. It's black. I don't want to get sad. It's black, red, raw sienna, and white. Zorn would use vermilion. So with these three colors, you can create and mix almost the full range of color. You know, it's amazing how colorful you can get something to look. Now, let me just get this very quickly, just the background of this covered up so a lot of this just kind of pulls together here.
It's amazing how just getting some of your contours in really describes the whole of the vase.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it really is.
You know, I find that I'm always fighting with my students, like, get your canvas covered and then come talk to me about your problems, right?
Yeah, that is so true, right? Just get things going. So this is good enough for now. I might come back to this. We could talk edges. There's so many aspects of this that I love to open up and that we dig deep into our group anyway. So that's, and then lastly, you know, even on the highlight, I like to shift the temperature. So that the highlight is, so it almost has a creamy warm tone. I'm going to go just with alizarin or permanent matter deep and white. And that's going to be my very high key highlight across there.
And can you tell us what high key means to you?
Yeah, high key is, well, high value. Let's say high value. High key would be if I chose to not go this dark, but I left all the values higher. So let's just go with that. So let me move to the warm light piece here, folks. Now this is where it gets really exciting to see the difference. And then what's so important is to know to look for that cool sandwich in both lights. So in this case, and now let me clean my palette very quickly here.
No problem. Just a heads up, we have about 15 minutes left today.
Okay.
And for those of you watching, if you are interested in studying with Daniel, make sure to go to his website, danielgerhartzteaches.com, and follow him on Instagram at Gerhartz Studio.
Thank you. You know, we have enrollment is open for the next few weeks, and then we'll be closing enrollment. So if you are interested to join us, please check us out. Anyway, so as I mentioned earlier, so important at the beginning to understand, to discern physically, just observe what's the temperature of the light. Now I am working on warm light, so that the top plane of this piece is warmer. So the light has got more yellow, orange in it, and then so that would be the top plane there.
I am so impressed with this color choice. As soon as you put it down, I could see it. But my first thought might be to just put white down, and look how warm this is.
Yeah, and actually what I'm seeing on this pot is even quite a bit warmer than what is shown on the screen. It's very warm. Now this warmth, it is, you know, as I mentioned earlier, this warmth, it will always, the saturation of the local color of the light will intensify right on just before the cool shadow. So it gets a little bit warmer, the cool sandwich. And so there's that.
Can you clarify for us what you mean by local color?
Sure. The local color, well, in this case, the object is white, but because of the color of the light, it's warm light. That warm light is intensifying its saturation right here. So let me just get that on. Now, as this spins into the shadow, this cool sandwich is right there. Again, it doesn't have to go orange to blue. Now, this is a very muted, I've got raw sienna, white, and black, and a little bit of blue in there, but it appears cool, right? And that's really the key, is that the relationship just kind of goes that direction. And let me also
using some kind of medium for your paint today?
Yeah, good question. I have it's Gamsol and Stand Oil, and the ratio is 3-to-1. 3 Gamsol, 1 Stand Oil, and sometimes just a splash of Damar varnish, so that cool sandwich is kind of wrapping around here. It's coming down here. Now just on the back side of this, cool. This is, you know what? Here's right there. That is what people miss, is not going warm enough in the deepest darks. Even when they've heard the mantra, warm light, cool shadows, so they keep the whole shadow cold, and what happens is your paintings will take on a chalkiness, your skin tones will look dead, but by warming up the shadow, it really gives you what you need in terms of that beautiful, glowing, luminescent color and light. Now, right on top of this, there's the top plane of this, I'm getting some coolness right up there. The value's got to be the same, though. I went too dark. Lighten it up even a little bit more. So see how the value, so there's a massive plane change between here and this as this starts to spin back. How do I show that plane change? With color temperature right there. That cools and then it warms up again right here. This starts to go vertical again here, so that's warming up there. As this spins around, this is a little cooler over here. So let me just get that in. Underneath on this side, this heat is insane. It gets so warm. You know, copying the masters. This is one thing I talk about. We do regularly in our group, and it's really. Can you imagine learning how to play piano and never play Chopin or Mozart, or it's like this is how we learn. So studying the masters, look to see how they did it, copying just little sections of their paintings to see what they did, how they did it, and then when I do that, then I start to understand light, and that's when the understanding, like the lights go on, and we're like, oh, that's where the aha moments just come shining through, and that is when it is thrilling. So look at this warmth. So see how that, now let me carve the outside around this, folks. It looks like a mess now, but once I get the outside in, you're going to start to see how this light actually fits together. And then we can talk about them. So this is my peripheral edge.
Can you tell us what you mean by peripheral edge?
Yeah, the outside edge here, the edge of the vase. Good question. I take so much for granted, Mandy. Thanks for bringing all those points up.
Well, my background is in K-12 education, so I'm always trying to make sure when I'm hosting here that I can use this for my, middle school students, for example.
Yeah, great. Good. It's helpful. So this does that. Oh, there's so much we could talk about. Again, edges, just, you know, making the form pop with just beautiful edge work. That's a whole nother subject.
Well, we would love to have you back on for that subject in a future date.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you can't wait to get to it, come join us. Anyway, so there's that. Let's and then the highest light on this. Let me just. How much time do we have, Mandy?
We have about 10 to 15 minutes.
Perfect.
We could give you 15. We'll give you 15.
This is fine. Great.
I'll talk faster.
We're doing fine. So I don't need. I think that'll be perfect. So let me just. Going to work on this transition right here. The coolness intensifies a little bit right there. Let me just get all this covered up quickly.
And can you tell us what surface you're working on today?
Yeah, I'm just working on 𝗪◍ oil paper.
Oh, great.
It's just very quick and easy. But okay, I want to throw in the highlight on this, and then we can tear these apart here. Really unpack what's going on. A lot more heat in that highlight. It's a highlight there. There's one up here. Again, I'm just kind of quickly throwing this stuff in, folks, but hopefully the principle carries here.
So can you tell us a little bit about your highlight strategy? That's something that we get a lot of questions about on Art School Live.
Yeah, highlight strategy, you know, really, you know, here's the deal. Look to see if the temperature shifts. If we have a second, we maybe can go back to a couple of masterworks. If not, that's fine. But often what'll happen is every time there's a plane change, Mandy, there's look for a temperature shift. So as I mentioned here, here's the front side of the vase. As it turns away, let me show you right here. You see this right here? This is warmer tone. This is the front face of this vase. Right here, as this vase is going back, right there, it's picking up more of the cool studio light there. So that's cooler. You can see how I've got that right here, from warm to cool to warm. And then as this tone, again, it's just reversing itself. As the top of this vase comes out, these warms are intensifying up here again. And as they go deeper into the shadow, watch what happens. This is, it's so exciting, folks.
I love watching it.
When you start to see it in your own work and you start to understand, it's like the law of light. You know, the law of how light physically works and what it does, you know, as it moves around a form. Now I'm just going to pull some of this stuff together a little bit just to get rid of some of the fractured feel of it and just pull it together a little bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about the technique you're using right now? It looks like you're wiping your brush between colors.
Yeah, I just have a dry brush and I'm just pulling together the forms.
And by pulling together,
I don't always do it this way. Sometimes you can put it down right to start with, Mandy, and then it works just fine. In this case, it's a little bit fragmented. I'm going to move up here too. The same on this one. You know, I'm going to just pull some of these tones together just a little bit. But so
you're pulling them together, you're kind of mixing the color on canvas a little bit to smooth the transition. Is that fair?
Yep. And then often I'm going to go against the form. So I put the stroke on this way. Now I'm going to come back. Sometimes you can use these 𝗏𝗏 279 brushes. Those are really nice for this too. Now, sometimes I come back and I'll pull the brush this way, pull it across the form, and it just gives such a volume-filled effect to the piece. So let's zoom out and let's talk about both of these now.
It's so amazing to see the contrast between the two, because we've been seeing just the warm one for this last bit, and my mind has forgotten about your cold one, and now seeing them side by side, what a huge difference.
Right. It's absolutely thrilling. So let's talk about the, I'm just going to intensify some of the warms underneath here. We're a little stronger up here too. Don't be afraid to go very warm. This is almost pure raw sienna. Do you see how yellow that is?
Mm.
You're going to put that in a cool shadow on a white base, and it's counterintuitive, but it is absolutely critical. Study the masters. Look to see where they did that. So again, the mantra we've been told, warm light, cool shadows. If we didn't have the heat in here, these would not carry the luminosity of light. They would not look, they just wouldn't breathe. They wouldn't feel like light. And, you know, and again, as I said, this is true on every shift. Now, as this spins under here, this is going to warm up again. So every time you've got a plane change, look for that temperature shift. You know, so it's you know, warm, cool, warm, and then cool, warm, and then it'll go right down here. This will go cool again. That's sandwich. No matter how small or thin the area is, that sandwich of cool is right there. And then just below the sandwich is going to go very warm again. And, you know, and the fun thing is you can do it as subtly or as punchy, so to speak, as you want. You can make it as colorful or as subtle as you choose. And so we're always looking for that shift. Warm, cool, warm, you know, cool, warm, and then cool. So as this form is turning and spinning, that we're going to look for that sandwich at every turn. It just gets thrilling. How much time do we have, Mandy? Go ahead.
We have about 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes, but what I'm seeing here is so much great information about big forms. But I know that when I show this to my students another time, that they're going to ask me, why didn't he put all those little details in that we see there? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I could, you know, we could just sit here now and continue to develop this, right? We could just say, okay, yeah, there are a lot of details. There's a form. Yeah, this pot has, see, ribs in it. So there's the coolness there, and there's the coolness there. The slight, and on this side, those ribs. Here's a really important point. Every time you see a plane change, ask yourself what's going on with the temperature. Don't assume that you know what's going to happen. Look for it. And here's an important thing too. So on the back side of this, let me just finish this thought. So warm, cool. The deepest part of this little plane change is a warm tone right there.
Ah.
See how it's everywhere. It's on every shift. And if we could have a chance to go back, so you know you can, and then that same warmth is going to be right there. Every time you have a form changing, this side I'm not seeing the warm cool as much. This side just kind of warms up. So then just trust it. Here's a good thing to think about. Whenever you're looking at your subjects, we talk to our students about squinting way down. Why? It simplifies the values. The light stays separate from the shadows. Notice how on here, let's go back to there. It's very subtle, but this light plane is very distinct from this plane. I could even push this a little with a little bit more value contrast. Don't necessarily have to, but you know, that could be a cooler shift like that. That violet could do that. I'm going to just leave that. And then now because I put that much cool in, I feel like I need to balance it with a little bit more heat. So I'm going to bring a little bit more heat up into it. And that, now I've got light and shadow. Very simply stated, there are color shifts within each simple value mass, but we want to keep the value shifts very simple in the lights and in the shadow, and then use color to spin it from there to there. And that extra warmth in there is going to be really, really important. Again, so when I'm looking for color, I open my eyes to see, because our eyes pick up color shifts better with our eyes wide open. That's the only time I give my students permission to open their eyes. Otherwise, we are in the deep squint, because all of your drawing decisions, all of your value decisions, all of your edge decisions are best observed in the deep squint. And you know, deep squinting is with your eyes mostly closed. Not this. I have some students that try to open one eye, and we have a lot of fun with that one too. Anyway, so squinting for value. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I have a question for you. You know, students, sometimes they struggle to keep the clarity of their color notes on their paper. Do you have any advice for students to get these clean warms and cools that you're showing us?
Focus. Clean warms, and you know, the biggest concern is value control. We want the values to be simple and clean. And then, you know, a clean palette, if you've got no place on your palette that's clean, clean it off. That's a huge part.
Yeah.
Make sure that the palette is clean. And then, you know, a cleanish brush. Now, when I'm working, I don't clean my brushes, but I wipe them. And I reserve the lights and the darks are separate. So my dark brushes, so if I'm going to work on this area, I'm not going to grab a dark brush. I'm going to grab a light brush. I'm going to wipe it off. And then I'm going to mix up a clean pool of color. And then I can work on top of that without destroying. You know, one thing we don't want to do is get pock marks or lots of value shifts within the lights. We want to keep them as simply stated as possible. Study Sargent's work, study 𝗵𝗵𝗃 and 𝗵𝗵𝗺. Such simple, clean, flat values. Abbott Thayer, his work is amazing. Emil Carlson's still lifes, simple, flat values with a minimum of highlights. Build the form.
Emil Carlson is so underrated. He's one of my all-time favorite painters.
He is remarkable. Yeah. So, you know, simple values with very little value shift. Use temperature to spin the form and the values, and then look for the cool sandwich between the top and the under, the light and the shadow plane. It is everywhere. It's thrilling to see. You know, do we have a second to look at any masterworks again, or are we?
We have a couple minutes, and that'd be a great way to finish out our show today.
Let's do that. Okay, so let's talk about that again here. Here's a couple of quick portraits I did. You can see at every plane change, light and shadow. What's between them? Here's a cool sandwich. This guy, I really punctuated the cools. Here you can see it's warm on the light plane and then the cool, but then I didn't omit the deepest darks. Look at this is cool light. Very cool tones in the light plane. Before it spins into the dark, warm shadows, there's the cool sandwich. It's there. Look on the tip of his nose here. No matter what the size of the shape, that will happen everywhere. Look, let's go on. Top plane, cool sandwich, very hot, warm. Even over here, you know, the top plane of his beard here is this tone, and then it gets a little bluer, and then it gets warmer again. You can see that coolness at every turn. Look at this plane, and then it gets cooler, and then it goes warmer. It's thrilling to see it everywhere. Let's find. I love this painting of Jessica by Dennis Miller Bunker. Look at this gorgeous skin tone here. Look, you can see that cool sandwich going all the way down the side of her face here. But then let's look what's underneath that cool sandwich on the shadow side. Notice the heat. See the yellow in this? If he just went blue or black or dark purple, she'd look dead. But or even here, you can see that violet right there between this and that. Look at how hot he gets in the darks in the face, in the eye sockets here. Again, looking for that warm, cool, warm. Very subtle shifts.
Beautifully done.
Yeah, here's another sergeant. Warm, it gets cooler, and then it gets very warm. Warm down here. Warm. You know, when I say warm, it doesn't mean orange. Just warmer than. Warmer than, cool, warm. It's gorgeous. So look for it, folks. That will demystify. And let's go back to the regular screen here again. And if you train yourself to look for the cool sandwich, it's going to demystify color temperature for you. Open your eyes. And here's another thing. Always end warm. If you struggle with paintings that are chalky, like, my painting looks chalky. The biggest problem probably is that you don't have enough heat in your darks. Keep that in mind.
What a wonderful lesson today. Thank you so much, Daniel. That cool sandwich will stay with me the rest of my life. I hope you have a trademark on it because I'm going to start telling my students all about the cool sandwich. Again, you can follow Daniel Gerhartz at Gerhartz Studio and make sure to check out his online classes at danielgerhartz.teaches.com. And I hope you enjoyed today's demo. What a wonderful job. Thank you again. I do have a free gift for you. You can download the free video, 97 Incredible Art Secrets. Go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. And if you haven't signed up for Plein Air Live, it's time to do so. So November 6th through 8th, 2025, with Essential Techniques Day on November 5th. 3 days to fast track your journey to outdoor painting. You can sign up at pleinairlive.com. And everyone, don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Art School Live on YouTube and at Eric Rhodes on Instagram. And of course, please make sure to check out my own website, 𝗨𝗪𝗺arts.com, and follow me on Instagram at Mandy Fine Artist. Thank you all for joining us for this wonderful art lesson today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.